Welcome to the Clyde FC podcast, brought to you by the multi-award winning State of Mind. We are back after yet another bruising week for the Billy Wee on the field, and an interesting one off it, with a lot of discussion points, both from the match and obviously the fans forum on Tuesday night, which I'm glad to say was not as eventful as the Q&A of our visitors tomorrow. But yeah, still plenty of discussion points that I'm sure a lot of people will be looking to give their input on, including ourselves. Joining me tonight, I am delighted to say, as always, we've got the best photographer in Scottish football, Craig Black. And I can't really give the other person too much of a big up. It's just the other half, Lynn. So yeah, we've got quite a lot to go through, despite only one match. It's been a bit of an eye-opener for myself this week, particularly on the field. I think it's safe to say that if you can stay calm when all others around you are panicking, you perhaps don't appreciate the gravity of the situation. I think it's fair to say, Craig, that's maybe been myself and maybe a few others on this particular show of late.
Without a doubt. We were hoping it was going to be a wee blip, but the wee blip seems to be turning into a longevity, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's quite almost poetic, ironic, whatever way you want to call it, that this is a Halloween weekend and things have got really scary and pretty ugly on the park for the Billy Wee in recent weeks. Lynn, we'll come to yourself. Last week, your overall thoughts. Again, it really wasn't that pretty, was it?
It really wasn't. Although first half, I thought, in comparison, obviously, to our game against Montrose, I thought we were going to hold out till half time, and actually thought within there we were fairly matching Cove, and then unfortunately, just right before we hit half time, we kind of cave in and leak a goal in. So that was really disappointing because I was hoping we could have at least got to half time to then go, right, what can we do to push forward in the second half and try and get a confidence boost and win. And then unfortunately when we lost obviously an early goal second half, you could just see unfortunately the heads went down again, and yeah, it was just not going to be. You just felt it was going to be that way. So yeah, it was a shame that we couldn't hold out to half time, and or if Goody didn't score that kind of one-on-one they had where he rattled the crossbar. You kind of go what if, but obviously that wasn't to be. So yeah, very disappointing again.
Craig, I think you're like ourselves. You were watching online.
Yep.
You get maybe a different perspective live. However, I think the overall consensus is, much as Lynn said, yes, for 44 minutes, it was okay. There was perhaps a reaction that most fans, dare I say, weren't just looking for. They were almost demanding a reaction, given the Montrose debacle. But yeah, the second that Cove took the lead, it just seemed to suck any kind of life out of us. Right on half time, and thereafter it was one way traffic.
Yeah. I'm not going to make excuses or anything like that. I don't think we can. But I mean, to lose the goal almost with the last kick of the ball in the first half was a real sucker punch. I think they'd worked so hard to stay in the game right the way through, and as Lynn said, competed really well, and we had that chance that small margins it might have went in on a different day, but the small margins were blown out the water with that goal, and then the goal quickly after the restart as well. We were messaging each other throughout the first half, and we're going, right, there's 15 minutes we've no conceded, 20 minutes we've no conceded. It was getting a bit comical, but we were looking at the fact that we're getting minutes under the board, and we're not conceding goals. And at that point, we looked okay. But as soon as we shipped one, and again, right before half-time, obviously it's changing whatever team talk's going on at half-time. It changes the whole atmosphere, I would imagine, in that group. And then you come out and you lose another one within 4 or 5 minutes, if even that. And you go, oh no. And that was it. The control of the game was gone.
Yeah, it was that all too familiar feeling at the first goal that you did fear at the second half, without a similar kind of upturn in the performance that we had seen in the first. it would need to be improved still to get anything from that game. Cove are a more than capable team. However, yet again, Lynn, we continue to shoot ourselves in the foot. Just quickly as well, Mark, Stuart, thanks for getting involved, Mark. And there's plenty of comments already flying in, guys. Last week was better than the week before, but it really couldn't be any worse. And yeah, absolutely. But for that first half, we were competitive, which is a damn sight more than what we were the week before in the first half.
Yeah.
That said, the second half, it was shoot yourselves in the foot football, Lynn, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Like, we just, again, sort of reverted to the mistakes we'd sort of done in the Montrose game. If just sort of felt like kind of down the wings. It's like people know, obviously, that's our kind of weak point just now. And, once they knew where to exploit, that was, that they were coming in left, right, and centre. Like, it was same mistakes, same costly goals, just not a different story from the Montrose game. Thankfully, obviously, I said that the Montrose are a better team. Or my opinion, and I didn't think Cove were fantastic, but equally, they didn't really have to shift out too much out of second gear to kind of get the goals, which is disappointing from my perspective, because you'd hope we'd sort of match if somebody wasn't really on their game. So that was what was also really disappointing for me, because I thought we could have more than matched them if we'd actually been on it. But yeah, same costly goals, same mistakes.
Yeah, just we'll look at the first goal in particular just now. Danny touched upon it at the fans forum. You're looking at 2 or 3 phases of play from the initial corner coming into the box. You can't defend that meekly against any opposition and expect to get away with it, let alone a team that is more than capable of hurting you, even if you defend well enough.
Too right. I think it's as well, when you're at this moment in 3 or 4 games that we've had, it's went really badly, or really, really badly for us. They're the moments when you get that second phase or third phase and you've got the opportunity to clear it. We've got to get it clear. We can't just and try and clear it to an area or to a man or to a space. It's crucial and basic that we need to shore these things up.
Yeah, the second goal, if we are looking at clearing your lines, we tried to do that at a point where we probably had a wee bit more time to actually bring the ball down. Looking at the first half, yes, there were seeing positives. There was an improvement. I think we pressed them better than we certainly pressed Montrose and Airdrie, by all accounts, albeit I did miss that match. But our use of the ball just wasn't sharp enough. There were times where we did have possession, saying they're kind of in their half at least, if not the final third. The final ball, we didn't either make the pass or the pass was misplaced. We did have a penalty shout. I should actually bring it back to that. Now, Danny is adamant that we should have had a penalty kick I think it was in the very first minute. I will be honest, at the time I did think it was a penalty. I haven't watched it back. Craig, do you think we were hard done by? Or are we clutching at straws?
You sure you're asking me?
Yeah. We'll go for you, Mr. Impartial on all Scottish referees.
It was, we're not being pitchside that time, and not, we're watching it from the distance of the autocam or the Autobot cam or whatever it's called, but it looked a bit theatrical. The way it was Ali Love, wasn't it? The way he went down. It's a strong shout, and as I said to my boys that were watching it with me, you're giving the referee a decision, and he's decided against it. So you're then, right, okay, get yourself back into a similar position and give him another decision, because he can't not give you 2. I know it might sound ridiculous, but if you've made him decide against you once, if there's another 50-50 decision in the box, it's given him a bit of a mental kind of, well, I didn't get the last one, maybe I need to give it this one, but we never really got to that stage again. But yeah, for me, it was a Stonewall penalty.
I would never expect anything else from you, Craig. You don't disappoint me there, sir. Just on that kind of point that you made, I think you look at the reverse fixture at Broadwood, and Cove had multiple shouts at penalties, and they eventually were awarded one, which I felt was in the slightly soft side, certainly softer than some of their other claims. So yeah, I agree. You get yourself up and you try and go again, and you never know, the next decision might fall in your favour. Just a comment just on the Mark saying he didn't appreciate the podcast was on tonight. I have to hold my hands up. It was a busy day at work and I forgot to email the guys to get it on the website. So apologies for not getting that on. But if you do look at our social feeds, we'll always make sure that we do announce that we're on, if nothing, on the official website. So Stuart Payton makes a good point here that Cove had at least 3 Premier League quality players. Now, certainly in Shea Logan, they had a pretty impressive outlet down the right-hand side that they were quite happy to focus on. I believe he got man of the match. He made the SPFL team of the week and all sorts. He tormented us pretty much the entirety of the second half. We did not help ourselves, as we touched upon earlier. The second goal comes from, as I said earlier, just take a touch. You can make a pass or maybe fine touch at least. Good old-fashioned rugby terminology. Play for territory here. Instead, Kev, very experienced player, just rashly booted the ball in front of him, 30 yards. 10 seconds later, the ball's in the back of the net. And again, it's so simple. We can really avoid these goals, and you scratch your heads and you do wonder. And Danny must be scratching his head, and he was very frustrated, Lynn, as you saw on Tuesday, that he talks about the experienced players, that he needs a wee bit more from them, especially in those kind of circumstances. Someone with the experience of Kevin Nicol really shouldn't just be lashing that up the park to, especially a central midfielder in blue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, he did express the frustration at that your more experienced players should be sort of almost leading by example. And yeah, it was oh no, Kev, when that, kind of completely just get kicked to a Cove man straight away rather than, just absolutely booting it up the park. It was almost kind of shades of the Harry Kane England goal, like, where it's just like clear your lines, boot it up Rose Ed, whatever, just don't clear it to like your nearest person in blue or whatever colour Cove were playing in on Saturday. Like, just don't give it away to the opposition. Like, clear your lines. And yeah, that unfortunately led to their goal. So yeah, unfortunately Kev had a bit of a mare there. But I actually thought, again, for what I'd say about most of the players on Saturday, I thought he had a decent first half and was kind of making himself really useful, getting himself about. And yeah, that was just really obviously an unfortunate mistake, but a costly one.
It's one of those things that he's brought in a lot of experienced players this season, and you've got to hope and think that those kind of, but you're going to get mistakes most weeks, that's going to happen, but those kind of decisions should be better with the more experienced heads that we've got now. We didn't have that last season, but it seems to have backfired on us a wee bit so far.
Yeah, so I think this is a pretty good way of summing it up by Mark Stewart. So yeah, competitive for the first half, but yeah, second it's very difficult to disagree with hopeless. It might come across as harsh, but unfortunately, being nice sometimes doesn't really get you anywhere. And I think the players will be more than well aware that we are falling very, very short in a lot of very basic aspects of the games and game management just now. The rest of the second half, as I said earlier, was one-way traffic that resulted in Neil Parry, for the second game in a row, being awarded man of the match because he did keep the score down.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, it's frustrating. The poor guy has really not got to come in and show what I think he's capable of. Yes, potentially there's been maybe 2 or 3 goals like in previous games that he might have maybe done a wee bit better. Actually, in terms of the ones in the Cove game and the Montrose game, like, he actually helped keep the score down. So it's frustrating that we're not getting to see what he can do, when we are being competitive, like in terms of outfield. So in that sense, I do feel sorry for him. But yeah, he helped keep that score down on Saturday again. So if it wasn't for him, obviously we'd have been looking at another, and it was still a bit of a drubbing, bit more of one. So yeah, it would be good to see the outfield players, kind of putting in the shift, say for example tomorrow, and Neil Parry getting, hopefully not getting man of the match, because we don't want him busy, like at all,
Exactly.
So yeah, like again, what we were sort of saying about the Montrose game and what we said last week is that we just want us to play to our strengths and play to our abilities, and we just sort of totally played into Cove's hands as well, like we did to Montrose. We didn't play our style of football, our game, and we ended up making life very easy for how they wanted to play. Totally just ended up suiting and pandering to them. So very, very frustrating that second half.
It's just crazy, isn't it, that your goalie's getting man of the match at a 5-0 and a 3-0.
Yeah.
It's kind of speaks for itself about how the games have went. And yeah, I think we've touched on that. We've said the fact that we were a lot better in the first half, which is excellent. I mean, based on the Montrose game, the Airdrie game, we're a lot better in the first half. Hopefully that's a sign of improvement, but it didn't seem to work in the second half. But so we take a positive 45 minutes or 44 minutes.
Yeah. So Mark is obviously very, very always open and honest in his assessments, and he's saying that he can only call it as he sees it. And he said this season that we've still to play a good 90 minutes. Yeah, I think over the piece, a full 90 minutes performance has been very rare. I thought Queen's Park perhaps was as close to. I think Cove at home, I think we played very well. The second half we set up to defend the 2-goal lead. Yeah, we gave up a lot of possession, but I still think there was elements to that game that we should be pretty pleased with. However, more and more of late, we're only seeing 45 minutes, but as 45 minutes is still ultimately not getting us anywhere. The Airdrie game, we were level at half-time, but the second half we came out and they ran over the top of us. They went out pretty comfortable 2-1 winners by all counts. We really need to stop talking about Montrose, because my psychiatrist is going to be a very rich person if we keep going over it. And yeah, the last week again, it was 50-50. It was okay first half, second half. Yeah, let's move swiftly on almost. Looking at some of the other comments, now John Higgins poses a very good question, and it leads us probably quite nicely on. This is the $1 million question here. Where do we go from here, and how do we change this pretty horrific run of form of like 3 defeats, conceding 10, scoring only once, and that once was a penalty kick? Craig, I'll bring it to yourself first. No pressure. How do we fix this?
I think we need to challenge the players in a positive way. I'll try and justify what I mean. We've been on and we've been saying we've been unlucky, we've made bad decisions, we just get caught in the headlights, we've had a bad half, we've had players out of form. They need to step up now. There's no doubt about it. They need to step forward, they need to show what they're going to do, and to be honest, be better.
Yeah, Stuart Ross here. Thanks for getting involved, Stuart. We can't expect to play for 45 minutes and get something from the game. It's as simple as that. We're even against weaker opposition, I don't think you're going to get away with it. We're in a very competitive league this year, where realistically any 4 from 6, you're looking at being in the playoffs. Real aspirations, big spending clubs. So it's really cutthroat stuff this year, Lynn, and 45 minutes isn't going to cut it. We really need to get 90 minutes out the boys, as Craig says. They need to stand up.
I know. We normally say, like, that age-old question: would you rather performance or result? But I think, right now, we need both. Like, I think the fans are so fed up with the product they're seeing in the park just now that actually we need to see an improved performance, improved desire, and a result. Like, it's not. I don't think it's enough just now to. Don't get me wrong. I would take 3 points all day long, but see if the performance is really poor. Like, again, it's still going to have a bit of, we're still going to have alarm bells ringing that if we're playing a better opposition, would we have got that scoreline? So I think right now, the players need to have a think that, we need to be turning in both and getting 3 points. Like, I think it's as simple as to kind of get the fans back believing again.
Yep. Show a bit of fight. I think there's characters and that are big enough in that squad that have got the experience and leadership within them to show more. I think.
Yeah, agreed.
So there are some comments it's in relation to recruitment, which we are going to come to, probably looking at the next section, which is based on the football forum from Tuesday night. Recruitment obviously based a large part of the discussions and the questions that were asked of Danny and the rest of the football department. So we will come to the comments, guys. I appreciate there's a lot of chat going on about that just now. So there was a lot of kind of build up to this particular fans forum. I think it came at a good time. I think most fans were ready for it. I think there was maybe a wee bit of concern just how kind of maybe heated it would get, and it never went that way. I think when you look at, as kind of joked upon in the opening remarks, the Falkirk fans Q&A, which was very heated. It never got to that level. It was all very, very respectful. Yeah. The questions and the answers that were given. Now, Danny's opening remarks. Now, Craig, I appreciate you went there. So myself and Lynn and anyone in the comments who was there, please do let us know if any of our recollections are incorrect on this. Now, Danny's opening remarks, he was very open and honest. Said that he knows full well that the results and performances have not been good enough, and he was taking full responsibility for that. Now, I think, that's an absolute checkbox. We first and foremost, he wasn't washing his hands of it. He wasn't saying, no, this falls on the players. He was saying, no, look, I've made mistakes to reference some kind of particular elements of performances, formation, shape, etc. The kind of general feel of the night, Lynn, how did you think it kind of progressed, and were you happy with the answers given and certain the kind of presentations? Did it make you feel better about things?
I definitely came away feeling a bit more, not content's not the right word, but a bit more relieved, because after Saturday, like Danny's post-match interview, I just really thought he sounded really quite dejected, and that when I remember saying to you, like, I don't know, I've got a horrible feeling just now that Danny maybe is walking, and that's what that interview is. It's almost like a goodbye. Do you know, I was a bit concerned by that, and then on Tuesday I definitely came away feeling that no, he's still got the fight, like, because he was very honest, very adamant, and just about saying, you know, like, I have made mistakes, I have got things wrong, but equally, like, I know what I need to do to turn things around. I think I know I've got the players that can turn this around. Just stick with us, we can do it. And I know when my time at this job is up and it's not it. So from that, I took away real heart from that okay, there is fight there then, like, because I had been concerned that there wasn't, because he sounded so defeated and dejected after Saturday's defeat. So in terms of that, I came away feeling a bit better. I have to say, I thought in terms of some of the presentations from the football department, I thought it was actually good to hear from Matty Fennick, the kind of you're going to have to correct me what his job title is. Totally.
Sports scientist.
Sports science.
I was really encouraged by his presentation, and from PJ Core, in terms part of the recruitment team. In terms of them, I really felt, in terms of the information that Danny's getting on a week-to-week basis from training and from matches, like, he's got a whole host of data that he gets provided by these guys, like, it's a recruitment being separate, but, you know, like, in terms of on matches, like Matty in particular, I found, you know, very, very articulate, and I found very encouraging about what he does for players, and he just has the right sort of mentality and about how to get the best out of players. It sounded like I know we've not been really sort of probably seen that, but it sounded like, you know, things are tailor-made for each type of player, and what the data's shown him needs to be improved. And, you know, I saw when David Mitchell was leaving that when Matty was saying, you know, almost like kind of cheerio on Twitter, Mitch was saying he's one of the most underrated guys at Clyde, and kind of listening to what he had to say, I have to feel it in terms of the the overall data that he's providing Danny on a almost like every couple of days basis. Like I can totally understand why. It does sound like he's a really, really valuable resource in the 2-3 years he's been there. And then in terms of PJ Core, I thought he represented himself very well as well in terms of, again, the sort of data he provides during matches as well. But I'll let you guys obviously I'll let you kind of go into the sort of the recruitment piece, which was then sort of separate. But yeah, I came away feeling a bit more relieved about what's kind of going on behind the scenes, basically.
Yeah, one thing Danny was keen to stress the other night, not only that is he very much up for the fight, is that he feels he is getting the support of the board. Now, the presentation, shall we call it that, from PJ Core, I think was probably the most highly anticipated kind of talking point from the night, mainly because it all centred around recruitment, which has been the buzzword for all at Clyde Football Club probably for the last couple of months. So when questions were opened up, it was to the surprise of nobody that the very first question was based around summer recruitment and the kind of squad assembly that we have and what we even potentially could have had, which brings me to a lot of the talking points now. I think someone was asking to say that there was a fair number of players that had been approached by the club that we were unable to get over the line. Now, Danny mentioned that in quite open terms, that he had a list of so many players. He went through them. He opened a lot of dialogue with these players. However, he admitted in some cases that he maybe held on to these guys and waited a bit too long. And as a result, when they didn't get over the line after he thought it was done, we then missed out on, say, the second or third preference for that particular player. So there are certain things that he knows, and he admitted that he has to do better and would do better if obviously that situation ever arose again. He felt that we were almost being used as a bargaining chip for some players. Again, there was no names, so let you all speculate in the comments as to who that may or may not be. But yeah, that was a bit of an eye-opener. There had been some rumours that we had missed out on number one targets. So Craig, would you be similarly disappointed to hear that?
I think it's a difficult position because I think we all know we've not got the biggest budget in the league, and we'd be competing against other teams that might be offering a bit more money or whatever the case may be. Although we do have brilliant facilities and we've got what I still believe is one of, if not the best manager in the lower leagues. So you take it all into context, but yeah, I'd heard things like that before as well during the close season, that they were waiting to hear from one or two players in certain positions whether they were going to or not going to, and that was taking days, and then another day, and then another day, and then before you know it, you heard they were signing elsewhere, which must be really frustrating for Danny. Maybe it's the case of you've got 3 days, make a decision, and then move on. If he's not coming, he's not coming. We'll move on to the next one. But I suppose you live and learn, but it's difficult times at that point.
And that's what he sort of said as well. He said, like, you know, the sort of better players, you know, pretty much almost sort of wait till right to the very end because they're courting, you know, quite a few clubs to try and get themselves the best possible deal. And I don't want to use the term that Danny used about that, but he said they got messed about, I'll say it that way, you know, from a few people who, again, thought, yeah, no, this is going to get over the line, but actually, you know, they sort of led them down a garden path. So in that sense, but I suppose, again, he said, you know, that is football because the better players do that because they're trying to get themselves the best possible deal and they are sort of playing clubs off one another. So in terms of that, he was disappointed. But yeah, kind of as he sort of admitted, like I maybe spent too long on sort of ones like that instead of maybe trying to go to like player number 2, 3, 4, whatever, like in the positions he was looking at.
It must be difficult because he'll be getting a kind of feeling that from Joe Blogg's player that yeah, give me a few days to think about it, and I'm quite keen. I'm really keen. They'll be feeding him positive vibes the whole time as well, and he's got to make that judgment call, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's hard. It must be a hard like, you know, obviously, like, he's been obviously a manager for a good number of years, right? And obviously this has been a sort of different kettle of fish as well, kind of post-COVID, or still in the midst of COVID, you know, but we're kind of coming out of that whole, you know, kind of condensed sort of season we had last season, and then everybody's sort of in that same boat where we've all had, you know, these like kind of grants, etc.
Yep, cash injection,
so everybody thought, oh well, we've got you know, that to use as well, but so did everyone else. And again, is it down to, you know, in terms of budget? Yeah, we can't generate a lot of our own income that other clubs are able to, and again, they're coming to the table, you know, with unfortunately a better wage budget than ourselves, and we can't then compete. And Danny was open and said that was the case in a few instances where he couldn't compete with the wage offers on the table. So yeah, it's hard.
And he did reference that wasn't even just teams in our own league. That was referencing teams going down the actual the ladder, League Two, and there's fairly big spending Lowland League teams these days as well. So he did mention further to that on the recruitment side, he had been looking to use the loan market, looking at kind of partnerships that we've had before, looking at Celtic, Rangers. Obviously, we've had players on loan from them last year. I think if you read between the lines, he may have been referencing Yono. I'm not quite sure anyone else, but he mentioned the fact that with the Rangers and Celtic Colts, B teams, whatever you want to call them, now being part of the Lowland League this year, that took some of the possible targets away from us. So that's a slight frustration, and that was something that when the teams were getting admitted to the league, I was against it. From a selfish point of view, that clubs like ourselves, we look to dip our toes into the loan market and get these guys on board. So Craig, if I put it to you, if Yono was available come January, would you take him?
On the showing that he gave us, 100%. 100%. I thought, we all spoke about it in his first game. I can't remember who it was, but you hear you're signing this young 17, 18-year-old boy on loan from Celtic, and you go, right, okay. And then this big fella came on, physical, strong, confident, fast, aggressive, and looked to be really enjoying himself. But yeah, of course I'd have him back. I think every one of us would.
Yeah, Lynn, same to yourself. I know we're not short of left backs, but I think Ewan was a pretty impressive all-round player for us in very difficult circumstances.
100%. I think though, like I'd have him back in a heartbeat, and again, it makes that position, you want to make them competitive. So you know, people are fighting to get back in the side, and they need to put in the good performances to then make, you know, the starting 11. So absolutely 100%, I would take you back in a heartbeat. Like, he was an absolute cracking player in the time he was with us.
So as far as, and I know a lot of people will want to know, well, what's the plan going forward for recruitment? And it was asked, what are we looking to do? Are we looking now to January? And the answer from PJ Cobb was very much, we've never stopped looking. So I think come January, Lynn, the pressure will be on these guys to really deliver what needs to be almost a universally accepted positive January transfer window for the club.
It absolutely needs to be. And I think what obviously, as you touched upon, he said, you know, we've never stopped looking. So he obviously didn't rule out that, you know, if there was anyone, you know, that was out there that was maybe obviously a free agent, but then I suppose you think if they're a free agent, they're maybe not the quality we're needing, but it didn't rule that out. But yeah, he did sort of say that we'd need to have a strong January window, but they said they're constantly, like, they kind of outlined the process for how, you know, like they kind of make up the almost like that the player database that they've got, where like they scout players at Danny, like, you know, in terms of certain positions, and they'll have one scout go see them and grade this particular person, and then they'll get somebody to kind of go grade them again just to get different opinions. And then if it's after maybe kind of, they said like maybe 3 or 4 times that they've looked at them, and if they've all come in at like from A to like C or to D or something like that, and A being yep, absolutely sign them, B, and then B is good, but you know, maybe, you know, room for improvement.
More monitoring, etc.
Yeah, more monitoring. Yeah, exactly. So that would then kind of, right, this one merits kind of getting put in front of Danny and stuff, and then that, there's this then database to sort of go on. So he said that they're constantly still looking, constantly still kind of getting scouts out to look, etc. And they're doing that pretty much daily. And he's taken, I think he used examples that he was for certain kind of people that they were looking at, and he was on the call to folk from Australia, like at 3:00 in the morning, to try to kind of find out everything they could about, different this one particular player. So like it does sound like they're, he is working particularly hard, and he was saying obviously he's very frustrated that the product on the park at the moment is not reflective of obviously the work that that they're putting in. I hope, obviously, yeah, as you said, we need to all universally agree that the January transfer window needs to be strong, and we need to bring in people that are going to be then competitive for the positions that are badly needed improved upon, as we sort of touched upon on the night. Midfield and some defence is where we obviously need to strengthen. So yeah, that was highlighted on the night.
Yeah, I think Danny kind of admitted that he would be very keen to sign a kind of an attacking-minded midfield player, someone with a bit more kind of creative edge to assist Goody up front, because, I mean, since he scored the penalty away to Airdrie, albeit he hit the bar last week, but he's had very, very few touches of the ball, let alone opportunities to actually score. Now, we do have a couple of points to cover off, so to kind of almost round up the evening, just before anyone was there that could go out and take in the bounce match that Clyde played after, Danny was very, it was almost a rallying cry from Danny towards the end of it. He was pointing to his CV and his experience in management. He's managed across all 4 divisions. And as you touched upon earlier, Lynn, he had said, look, I know when my time will be up, but now is not the time. Trust me and believe when I say that I will get this turned round. And yep, all but words, proof will be in the pudding. We really need to see that. But if what Danny was saying and the passion that kind of came out of him that night is anything to go by, he's definitely up for the fight. So fingers crossed we start seeing the fruits of that from tomorrow.
And that's what he said. And he said, in terms of cliches, he was like, this club are in my blood, that like they're in my heart, like, so please stick with us. And he wants the players to be back down celebrating, down, the end where they would normally sort of run in towards the fans. He was, I want them back celebrating with you guys again. I want the connection back between the fans and the players, because that's obviously a bit, kind of what's missing. So it was quite an impassioned speeches that I made at the end, and again that's what made me come out feeling quite heartened that that at least Danny's up for the fight. Hopefully the players are too.
Well, I think from what you're saying there, it's almost as if he's had a bit of a rally call to the fans and a bit motivational to the fans, and hopefully he's doing that even more so with the boys in that dressing room.
I would hope so. I'm sure he is.
Yeah, so just speaking of fighting, there's a wee bit of back and forth in the comments. I just want to clarify something now with the comments. We've been asked a couple of times, there was one person who was blocked from our Twitter social feeds, whatever you want to call it. The person has no longer been blocked. It was due to a comment that was made that we took to be trolling and in bad taste. We've moved on from it, so hopefully everyone else can too, and we can have good social interactions discussing Clyde and football. So hopefully that draws a line under it. Thanks, guys.
Good. Okay. Well said.
So we're going to try and move away from Clyde Football Club just for 10 minutes. I'm sure you'll all be relieved to hear that. It's been quite heavy for the past couple of weeks, so come on, guys, give us something tomorrow, please. We're going to turn the spotlight on the Clyde FC Foundation. Now, Lynn, you, unfortunately for yourself, are a trustee on the foundation board, so I'm going to almost hand over to yourself. Would you like to give, for anyone in the watching, any Clyde fan that may not know what the foundation do, what its purpose is. Just a wee bit of insight into the work that the foundation do.
Yeah, so as you'd sort of said, I've actually been a trustee now. I might not be that well known, but I've been a trustee on the Clyde FC Foundation now for over 3 years, so since May 2018. So I got involved with that just because, again, I wanted to use I'm an accountant by trade, so kind of wanted to use my skill set to sort of help out the foundation at a time where, they were kind of looking for a bit of help in the sort of matters. So, and obviously kind of combine my love for kind of sport, football, and, obviously sort of helping promoting sort of sport and physical activity in children and the kind of local community. So sort of just to highlight what the kind of foundation's aims are. Basically, we aim to advance public participation in sport, and sort of advance health in Scotland by the promotion of the benefits of physical activity by participating in sport, promoting community development and equality in Scotland by encouraging, again, the participation in sport, and providing the recreation facilities or organised recreational activities, and advance education in the community in Scotland in relation to health and fitness, and promote almost kind of sport and activity and helping people develop common life skills. So it's not all about it is kind of connected to sport, but equally, we want to help people develop life skills that are going to benefit them for use in the future. So much like most businesses and most people during this pandemic, we were obviously affected quite greatly by COVID-19. It meant a lot of the kind of community teams, etc., weren't able to participate in their training and play games. We had to place staff on furlough. It's only really been in the last few months that we've been able to sort of get back to some sort of normality. And sort of in that time as well, Gordon Thompson himself and the Reverend John McKinnon were both trustees on the board, and Gordon had to step down due to his taking on of a new role in at the club. And similarly, Reverend John McKinnon also had to step down due to a role that was going to take him sort of was meant to be abroad once that was able to kind of be the case. So we sought to then at that point to also then bring in and supplement the skill set that was on the trustee board at that point, just to take that opportunity to do it. So we brought on Craig Downs as the kind of new chairman. He'd actually kind of been an associate director with Clyde as well, sort of helping them develop kind of governments and policies and stuff within the club. So we kind of utilised his experience within the foundation as well. We brought in David Caldwell, who is effectively as a trustee, but he's also the kind of head of sport development. He used to be a professional player and has been kind of scouting, coaching for a great number of years, so kind of using his skill set there. Also, then kind of the next three I'm going to name are all kind of lifelong Clyde fans, so like myself. So we've brought on Angela Finlay. She's a retired head teacher, so again, very passionate about kind of child welfare, and kind of promoting sort of life skills and kind of children young, to kind of taking it right through. So she's actually kind of helping a lot just now, ensuring that we've got the right people on board, sort of kind of coaching the children, because as you can appreciate, in terms of people that we've got involved working with kids, they have to be certified to do so, and we have to also kind of carry out certain checks over people. So she's kind of helping to sort of look after that with Andy Talon, our kind of child protection officer. We've also brought on Grant Morton. He's worked with kind of Action for Children, Sports Scotland, and he's also kind of in HR now for an investment management company. So again, as well as being a lifelong Clyde fan, that passion for child welfare, kind of across sport and within the area of Scotland. And obviously as well, kind of utilising his HR skill set, because, you might not kind of really think that's a real area, but everybody sort of needs people that have got kind of good HR knowledge, because obviously we employ staff, etc. So we sort of need somebody kind of to keep us right and that sort of thing. And then a relative of Grant, many of you will know him well, Stevie Morton, who's been with the kind of Southside community football teams for a good number of years. He brings a wealth of experience of having coached over there and kind of ran teams over there for a good number of years. So he was volunteering with the club sort of throughout the foundation throughout COVID, and then accepted the kind of invitation to become a trustee as well. So again, we've brought on people with great skill sets that we're kind of wanting to use and utilise sort of going forward, and we want to kind of help bring on, you know, more initiatives that'll bring us closer to the community. So if anybody has sort of any ideas, like for things, I'm going to mention a few now that we've been involved in or about to get involved in, but if you have any further ideas and would like to kind of to let us know about them, then you can get in touch with us at foundation@clydefc.co.uk. So one of the kind of greatest, I think one of the great things we're involved in is we've got a kind of Clyde United team. You might have heard of this. So this was a programme brought in to help people that were suffering from mental health issues, sort of mental illness and addictions, by helping them use football. Again, I think they kind of take part in a league now, and the benefits of that obviously is they sort of say, you know, folk that, you know, that kind of go through areas of, like, say, maybe depression, etc., that physical activities can actually help, you know, can release endorphins and help you feel a bit better about yourself, and having that camaraderie of a team. It's been amazing what that's kind of done for a few of the guys on that team. There's been a few that actually now kind of volunteer with Clyde themselves, as well as now we're supporting some going through the coaching badges, etc. So kind of then helping kind of get them involved in some of the community teams with it as part of the foundation. Again, this is one you might all heard of, but the football memories kind of sessions. So this is we kind of run groups for people with dementia, kind of Alzheimer's, to come along and enjoy sort of reminiscing about sort of old games, players, and other like fun football memories, sort of using sort of old football memorabilia, like old footballs, kind of Hall of Famers, like old tickets, all that kind of stuff. And it kind of just to help stimulate these sort of old memories, to kind of get people talking. And they say it's meant to be such a real benefit that actually, like, Alzheimer's Scotland have got right behind it, and, you know, they actively promote it as a thing for particularly, you know, people that enjoy football to kind of go along, because it actually does help bring back a lot of memories, and it will bring back a lot of happy memories for people, and it helps sort of bring back, so in terms of some of the long-term memories, sort of help stimulate sort of that, and, you know, within the brain, and it's actually been a real benefit to people. Again, I don't know if many people know this is part of the foundation, but we've also got a Clyde Power Chair FC. So this is an international disability sport for individuals with motorised wheelchairs, and they're the oldest power chair football club in Scotland. So they're formed in 2000.
One of the best, I believe, as well.
And one of the best, yeah, I'm getting to that. So, so it's one of the
a positive Clyde team winning. I can't help myself. Sorry, I'll settle down.
So there's kind of two teams within that. There's Clyde Alba, and I think it's Clyde Caledonia, but Clyde Alba, they in particular have been really successful. They've won Scottish Cups, Premiership titles, and they were actually for August 2020, they were invited to take part in the Champions Cup in Geneva. Now, unfortunately, obviously that got cancelled due to the pandemic, but they have now resumed training in the past few months again. Like, great, like, we've actually got Colin Shields from the kind of power chair teams as one of our kind of trustees as well. Kind of he was there before we brought on all the kind of new trustees, so he's been there a while with myself, so I joined him at the same time. And then also sort of then leading on, we've got girls football coaching now as part of, so North Lanarkshire this year decided to sort of change their timetables in high schools, and now the kids now finish at 12:30 on a Friday. So they actually, the foundation now deliver effectively kind of girls football coaching down at Broadwood, and that's time slotted with what would have been sort of the afternoon periods of like kind of high school timetables. So they're kind of delivering that as part of North Lanarkshire's Future Fridays programme. And sort of leading on from that, it's actually Women and Girls in Sport Week. And we've also recently appointed Lauren Rabeat, who's going to be responsible for the management and promotion of girls and women's football across the foundation. So she's an accomplished academy development manager. She's worked at both Rangers, Spartans, has represented England Centre for Excellence, played in the US and also in the Scottish Premier League for women. And so she is kind of currently taking upon herself to kind of help develop the Clyde women's team. So they're currently recruiting for more players to join their squad. So if there are any women out there who would be interested in sort of taking part in that, then please get in touch with Lauren. She's on Twitter. I think it's at Lauren Rabeat, which is RABBITTE. So please get in touch with Lauren if you'd be interested in taking that up. And then again, as I say, I'd reiterate, if there's any sort of kind of community ideas that you maybe have come across within your own community or elsewhere that you think that the foundation could be getting involved in, then please email us at foundation@clydefc.co.uk or get in touch with us on Twitter.
Brilliant, thank you. You can stop for breath now, Lynn.
I know, I literally felt like there's so much.
No, it's good
Amazing.
to hear real positivity, and as John Higgins mentioned there, it's great the work that the foundation are doing and looking to expand all the time. Martin Brown, thanks for joining us. Martin saying here, we need to be promoting this a lot more. They carry the Clyde name, they are Clyde, so yeah.
Just on that, actually, Martin, sorry, just to cut you in, I should have actually added that kind of part of kind of David Caldwell sort of coming in. He's actually, we were part of the kind of Clyde website, and a lot of stuff was buried in there and didn't always get updated, so not many people knew it was there, and it was kind of old information. So we now actually have our own website, which is far more updated. We're shouting the kind of good news. So yeah, it's now clydefcfoundation.co.uk. If you'd like to kind of go on and see any sort of these good news stories that I've been kind of talking about here, that's all on there. If you'd like to kind of be interested or you would even like to volunteer, we'd love to hear from you.
There you go. Just calling you out, guys, so get involved. Otherwise, Lynn's going to lynch you at the next game. Right, so yeah, all the kind of follow-up questions you'd ticked off, so I hope you weren't browsing my notes over lunch earlier. So we'll move swiftly on and we'll look ahead to more on-field matters for the first team and looking ahead to tomorrow. Now, dare we call it the Battle of the Q&As? Is that a question? Is that a statement? I'm not quite sure. We'll maybe move swiftly on before I get lunched myself. Craig, we'll come to yourself and give Lynn's voice a break. It's not an ideal fixture on paper when you're struggling for confidence and for form ourselves. However, on the flip side, and I can't believe I'm saying this aloud, Falkirk are struggling big time themselves now. To be Falkirk and be struggling mid-table in League One. We would rip your hand off for that right now, but they have much larger aspirations. However, they have only won one in their last 8 in all competitions. Just to stress and caveat that, we have said that so many times this season on this very show, and the following day, we've very much had our tail between our legs, haven't we, Craig?
Yeah, too right. I mean, listen, we can only do, first of all, Lynn, tremendous. What the community work that a lot of that I wasn't aware of. It sounds fantastic, and fair play to every single one of you. But back to the Falkirk thing, we can only play better than we did the last time at Falkirk because we did not turn up that day whatsoever at all. We hardly laid, I've said it before, we hardly laid a glove on them. And we can only do better than we've done in the last 2 or 3 weeks as well. So is it a good game to walk into? No. Is it ever a good game to walk into against Falkirk? No, and I mean that with all due respect to Falkirk. They're a good side and they have got 4, 5, 10 times the budget that we have, so they should be where they believe they should be at the top end of that table. I don't think any of us would have expected them to be struggling in the last 4 or 5 games the way they have, but let's hope they can last it for one more struggle and do a little bit of a turn. We have had a decent record against Falkirk in the last 3 or 4 seasons. We have been a little bit of a bogey team to them, although I think that tags seem to have fallen down in the last couple of games against them. But listen, we've got a challenge ahead of us regardless what team they're playing against it on a Saturday just now, so we need to rise to it, and we have got a good history of rising or playing better against the so-called big boys. So tomorrow's a time to show it. Am I confident? No. Would I take a 0-0 before you ask me? Yes. How do you think it's going to go? I'm just frightened about even thinking about it, but we can only hope.
Right, so we're not getting a prediction out of Craig, so we won't ask him.
The only prediction I'll give you is yes, 100% it was a penalty and we should have gone for it.
We should maybe just record you. Get our own wee Craig Black anti-referee soundboard. Andrew makes a good point here. We're going to need a bit of luck against Falkirk, and yeah, we probably will. They're a good team. They're maybe lacking an out-and-out goal scorer. However, that didn't stop them in the reverse fixture earlier in the season where they did, as you mentioned, they comfortably beat us 3-0. Now, we might need luck, but I'm going to throw an omen out there. I'm going to throw myself in front of this oncoming train and see what happens. Right. So we'll take you back 2 years in our first season in League One. We went to, we were playing Falkirk at home, and we were just off the back of conceding 8 goals in our previous 2 fixtures. We went on to win the fixture 1-0 against Falkirk. Am I clutching at straws? Yes. Will I keep clutching? Absolutely. You've got to.
I would rip your hand off for that right now. Absolutely rip off.
So the 2 defeats that I'm referencing there were 5-2 away to Wraith Rovers and 3-1 away to Airdrie 2 years ago. We obviously then followed that up with a further 2 victories against Falkirk that season. We would be more than delighted to repeat that. However, tomorrow it's a different squad from both sides. What do we need to do, Lynn? The very basics, what do we need to do to get a result tomorrow? Any kind of positive result?
Well, you use the word there, like do the basics. Like we need to turn up. We need to play the right formation, and then when we do that, have players in the right positions, which to be fair we did against Cove, right? But then people in these positions need to then do the basics right. Clear their lines, clear them to a man, as Craig said earlier, to a Clyde man or to space or to Rosed, like don't care. And then we need to get the midfield, then also need to protect the back line. I know it sounds simple enough, right? But then also they need to obviously be getting service to, well, not just to Goody, but to whomever, Ali, whoever's up front tomorrow. We need to get that service to even give ourselves a chance of, getting a result tomorrow. So yeah, the operative word is basics and turning up.
So Neil Baza makes a pretty good point here. Tomorrow we need to make a statement, and Falkirk need to be asking more questions come tomorrow. I couldn't put it better myself, Neil. I really couldn't. Now, football is it's a strange and funny old game. As I mentioned 2 years ago, we been cuffed in 2 previous games, and not many Clyde fans seen what turned out to be obviously a 1-0 victory coming. We can only hope that tomorrow the boys do take the criticisms that have been coming their way. That Danny has really been working them on the training field. I doubt he hasn't been. And that we really get a full 90-minute reaction. We could almost defend getting beat by a Falkirk as long as we've really been competitive. I think most Clyde fans were realistic enough to know that Falkirk, in terms of budget, blow us out the water, but doesn't negate the fact that we, as Clyde fans, we just want to see our team giving their absolute all, running themselves ragged, just to try and get something for that famous white shirt that they wear. So fingers crossed. Let's see where tomorrow goes. There's not going to be any bold predictions from us tonight. I've given you the omens. You can do with them as you please. So hopefully tomorrow we get that elusive victory, and next week it's slightly more positive, and we're looking ahead to a match against Queen's Park, so it doesn't get much easier as we go along. Now, wary of time, we've got a couple of shout-outs just to do in relation to tomorrow's match and a few other things. So, match details for tomorrow. If there are any Falkirk fans watching this, hello, and I hope your Saturday is thoroughly miserable. Match details. Away fans are urged to purchase tickets in advance through the Clyde ticket store. You can get all the details on the website. And for anyone who does, either home and away fans looking to purchase a cash ticket on the day, just be mindful that there's likely to be queues if you're doing that. So arrive in plenty of time so you can avoid missing kickoff. A couple of products on the go, just quickly. The Clyde FC whiskey has been launched, so you'll need to get in quick because there's only 200 of these limited edition 10-year single malt whiskies with the club's new partnership with Loch Lomond Whiskies. And on top of that, I'm going to flip my notes so I don't get this wrong. The club are also delighted to announce that another partnership new partnership, with the Glencairn Crystals, who have also provided a bespoke range of Clyde FC glassware, and perfect timing for all your Christmas presents. So make sure to get in before they are sold out. Lastly, the Ali Love and David Goodwillie shirt raffles that closes tomorrow at 3 p.m. So for anyone looking to purchase tickets for this, would need to do so in advance of kick-off tomorrow. And for anyone who's unsure of what that is, it's just a signed Ali Love with 100 on the back to mark his 100th appearance, and 150 for the good king David Goodwillie, and also signed. It's £10 for one ticket, or you can buy two, one for each jersey, for 15. And that's perfectly on the hour. So hopefully next week it's a positive podcast. We're all happy, 3 points in the bag, and who knows, Boise might be recovered from tomorrow night's party in time to join us. So thanks for all your comments, guys. It's been really busy. We do appreciate all your comments and interacting with us. Craig, thank you for your time. Go and enjoy your beer and your Clyde cup. And Lynn, I will see you in a minute. Thank you. Until next week. Come on, the Bully Wee.
All the best, on the Clyde.